What's going on, football family? Today's news is nothing short of monumental history making, even as the NFL world is reeling from what may be one of the most stunning developments in the modern era of professional football. You may want to sit down for this one, because we're talking about Joe Burrow. Yes, that Joe Burrow, former #1 overall pick, the face of the Cincinnati Bengals, the guy who led them to a Super Bowl appearance just a few seasons ago, now officially signing a 4-year deal with none other than the Dallas Cowboys. That's right, folks, this is not a drill. Joe Burrow is heading to Dallas in what is being described as a league-altering blockbuster move that has instantly changed the balance of power in the NFL. From coast to coast, teams, coaches, analysts, and fans are scrambling to understand how this came to be and what this means for the Bengals, for the Cowboys, and for the league as a whole. It's the type of deal that doesn't just reshape two franchises, it sends ripples through every single roster, every front office, every locker room. And while the finer details of this trade are still emerging, one thing is absolutely clear: the Dallas Cowboys are no longer just America's team, they might just be the team to beat. Now let's break it down piece by piece, because this didn't just come out of nowhere. There had been whispers, hushed speculation in corners of the internet, behind closed doors, insiders hinting at discontent, at cap stress in Cincinnati, at long-term vision misalignment, but no one, and I mean no one, expected the Bengals to actually pull the trigger on moving their franchise quarterback. But as we now understand it, the Cowboys had been quietly positioning themselves for months. With Dak Prescott's contract extension negotiations stalling, and with ownership reportedly feeling pressured to deliver a championship-caliber offense before the window closes on their current core, Jerry Jones, never one to shy away from a big swing, made the call that few would have dared. According to reports from those close to the negotiation table, the Cowboys offered a jaw-dropping package: multiple first-round picks, Pro Bowl-level players on both sides of the ball, and full salary cap flexibility to accommodate Burrow's existing contract demands, which were then restructured into a new 4-year deal worth a reported $260 million, with $210 million guaranteed. That puts him among the highest-paid players in NFL history, and for good reason. You don't acquire a player like Burrow unless you plan to build your entire future around him. And let's talk about what Joe Burrow brings to Dallas, because this isn't just about a talented quarterback joining a new team. This is about a proven leader, a calm, collected force under pressure, a quarterback who has played on the biggest stage, who knows how to win in the playoffs, and who elevates every player around him. When Burrow steps on the field, defenses adjust. Coordinators lose sleep, linebackers hesitate. He's not just elite with his arm, his timing, his pocket awareness, his chemistry with wide receivers, his control at the line of scrimmage. He is a total package field general. And now, he'll be commanding the Cowboys' offense, with weapons like CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and a highly athletic tight end group. Not to mention a solid offensive line and a revamped running back room that gives him the kind of balanced attack that made his Bengals offense so lethal. This is a team that was already competitive with Dak Prescott under center, but now, with Burrow stepping in, expectations aren't just high, they're stratospheric. Anything less than a Super Bowl appearance will be considered a failure. And honestly, based on Burrow's track record, that may be a fair expectation. But while Cowboys Nation celebrates what feels like the beginning of a new dynasty, we've got to consider the other side of this coin, what this means for the Cincinnati Bengals. This is a team that, just 2 years ago, was one of the most exciting young squads in the league. Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, Joe Mixon. It looked like they had all the pieces in place for a long-term run of dominance. But as it so often goes in the NFL, cap pressure, injuries, and playoff heartbreak started to wear on the cohesion. There had been rumors that Burrow wasn't thrilled with the direction the front office was heading in, particularly regarding long-term protection on the offensive line and inconsistency at key coaching positions. Pair that with the fact that his supporting cast was becoming increasingly expensive, with Chase, Higgins, and several defensive standouts needing massive extensions, and suddenly, what seemed like a secure future started to feel fragile. Still, fans never expected this. Trading away the franchise quarterback is a nuclear option, and the Bengals have pushed the button. Reports suggest that they're pivoting to a full-scale rebuild, possibly targeting a young quarterback in next year's draft or rolling the dice with a bridge QB for the upcoming season. The emotional impact of this move cannot be overstated. Joe Burrow wasn't just a quarterback in Cincinnati, he was the identity of the franchise. A local hero, a symbol of hope, resilience, and elite-level performance. From the time he was drafted, he carried the weight of an entire city on his shoulders, and he delivered. Even in seasons when the Bengals came up short, Burrow gave fans something to believe in. So this move, while it may have made financial or strategic sense to someone in a front office spreadsheet, is a gut punch to an entire fanbase. Bengals fans are devastated, confused, and in many cases, furious. Social media is flooded with reactions videos of fans burning jerseys, crying, expressing disbelief. For some, it's not just the end of an era, it feels like betrayal. And yet, in this emotional whirlwind, some fans are taking the long view. They understand that the NFL is a business, and in today's hyper-competitive league, difficult decisions are sometimes necessary for long-term success. For Dallas, the implications are immediate. With Joe Burrow at the helm, the Cowboys are now in win-now mode to the fullest extent. They're not building for 5 years from now. They're not waiting for prospects to develop. They want rings. Now. Burrow is 28, in the prime of his career, with a football IQ and mental toughness that rivals some of the greatest to ever play the game. The pressure is immense, but he's the type of player who thrives under pressure. You put him in front of 90,000 screaming fans at AT&T Stadium on a Sunday night and he doesn't flinch. He adapts, he commands, he dominates, and make no mistake, this move will have a ripple effect on the rest of the NFC. Teams like the Eagles, the 49ers, and the Packers now have to account for a new threat, and not just any threat, one of the most dangerous quarterbacks in football playing behind one of the most high-profile and well-funded franchises in all of sports. Dallas just became a nightmare matchup for anyone in the league. And let's talk about the locker room chemistry, because this kind of acquisition can be a double-edged sword. You bring in a superstar, and if the culture isn't right, it can backfire. But from everything we know about Burrow, he's not a diva. He's not going to blow up the locker room. He's going to win it over. Fast. He works harder than anyone, he studies relentlessly, he builds real relationships with his teammates, and he sets a tone that's both demanding and inspiring. If anything, this will elevate the level of play across the entire Cowboys roster. Defensive players will step up knowing the offense is going to do its job. Young players will be mentored. Veterans will be rejuvenated. This is the kind of move that doesn't just make headlines, it transforms cultures. The Cowboys might have just turned the page on decades of underachievement. But make no mistake, this is also a gamble. No move of this magnitude comes without risk. The Cowboys gave up a lot: future draft capital, defensive depth, and financial flexibility. If Burrow were to get injured or fail to deliver a deep playoff run within the next 2 seasons, the criticism will be brutal. And for the Bengals, if they don't make the most of the assets they received in return, if they flounder in quarterback limbo, if their fanbase walks away, they risk losing more than games. They risk losing identity. That's the razor's edge we're dealing with here. High stakes, high reward, high risk. So where do we go from here? For now, the eyes of the football world turn to training camp. All cameras are on Dallas. Every throw Burrow makes in practice, every post-game press conference, every preseason drive, it's all under the microscope. The expectations are through the roof. And if you're an NFC contender, you'd better start game planning now, because Burrow in a star helmet is not a matchup you want to be improvising against in Week 14. The league just got a lot more competitive, a lot more unpredictable, and a lot more exciting. Whether you're thrilled, heartbroken, or just stunned into silence, one thing's for sure: this is going to be one hell of a season. Stick around, because this story is only just beginning.